Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Tech Innovators Spotlight. Today, we have a very special guest from C3.ai. Ed, welcome to Tech Innovators Spotlight. Please tell our audience a little bit about C3.ai as well as your role there.
Super well, Vrushali. Thank you for having me on your show. And I'm Ed Abbo. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at C3.ai, and one of the early founders of the company. The company is an AI company. We provide applications to the enterprise market. So our customers are basically across different industries as well as public sector. Vrushali.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for your time today. I was super excited to bring you to this podcast, primarily because how you introduced, right? It's like AI company. And in today's sort of era of AI, it feels like it's something new, but it's not really, right? Like we have had AI for more than a decade now. And there are several things that with Gen AI, we have gotten the acceleration. But there are some fundamental things that you have been doing at C3.ai since the inception. So tell us a little bit about sort of the portfolio stack. I was really excited when I started researching about this company to see how the breadth is, right? So it kind of focuses on the platform. It focuses on apps. It also focuses on dev tools. So tell us a little bit about the breadth of that portfolio of products you offer to our customers.
Sure. And you're just to kind of put it in context in terms of the AI stack as people talk about it. So at the lower levels, there's a lot of noise, I would say, about the silicon, whether it's NVIDIA or Broadcom or others in that market. And then obviously Azure, the infrastructure is a layer above it and provides services, AI services, data services, other services, and also foundation models or large language models. C3.ai sits above of all of that innovation and provides applications, AI applications. And so we've been in the market. The company's existed for 15 years. We have in that time, basically designed, developed applications across almost all industries, and provide a turnkey, industry-specific set of applications. So, what does that mean? If you're an asset-intensive company, think industrial company. We have a suite of applications that we call the C3.ai Asset Performance Management. And what that does is it basically increases the asset utilization, means that we anticipate reliability issues and improve or reduce the unplanned downtime. Using AI to do that, we improve yield and processes, and we also optimize energy use. So, if we also have a suite of supply chain applications, and those anticipate so this AI for demand forecasting. This AI to basically make sure that your production scheduling is optimal to deliver to your customers. AI to anticipate supplier risk or disruptions, and AI to essentially make sure you're holding the right parts in the right places to deliver for your customers. So those are the portfolio of applications that are pre-built, that are ready to deploy. That are tried, proven in the market. We also have apps for not asset intensive customers, so services or government services. So we have a C3 law enforcement, a C3.ai for property appraisal. We have C3.ai for citizen service to improve customer satisfaction. The suite of applications is about 130 across different industries. So it's pretty rich set of apps that are ready to be deployed.
That's expansive. That's incredible. I like 130. I knew it was the breadth was incredible, but 130, I did not realize the scope of that. That's amazing. So tell us a little bit about sort of from customer journey standpoint. Give us a couple of customer examples where we're like, okay, these are the kind of customers who we serve, and this is the problem that we address for their recognizing their business's potential, making it accelerated time to value, whatever that value would look like in terms of C3.ai's offers.
Yeah. So if you look at again, kind of asset intensive industrial and energy customers, for them, the efficiency of their operation is really important, and so reducing what they call unplanned downtime or increasing the asset availability is key to basically ensuring on time and full delivery, and then reducing costs and manufacturing there. So we work with Dow, and it's actually a pretty well publicized customer case where in their investor day this year, or last year, I should say, they talked about reducing unplanned downtime by 20% in their main manufacturing, which is essentially these very large cracker units, steam cracking units. We work in the oil and gas industry with companies like Shell and Exxon and others, again, to improve overall asset utilization by 4 or 5%. And Shell is a great example where we've deployed across all of their assets and delivered substantial economic value. But we also operate in the food industry, working with companies like Cargill, again ensuring that food gets delivered from where it's grown to where it's needed. And at a pretty significant scale, precision agriculture, and with the Department of Defense and Intelligence, really all related to ensuring competitive advantage for these companies in a variety of different industries, including financial services and insurance, et cetera.
That is amazing. So let me ask you this. Given you serve the breadth of industry and you have the breadth of portfolio of products that you offer, is it usually based on how do you define success when it comes to continuing to iterate and innovate these 130 or even more in future, right? The products, and kind of deciding, okay, this is sort of the direct impact. It's efficiency. It's decreasing the downtime. It is agricultural efficiencies that you hear from customers. Is that your main lever to kind of figure out what the ROI of your product portfolio is, or there are other factors that go into the decision making of where to innovate?
Yeah, I think you ask a very good question. So the conversations with the customers really always start with, what's the value of various applications or use cases, and it starts there. And if you're a multi-billion company or tens of billions of company, you're looking for value, economic value, at least in the tens of millions, hundreds of millions. And in many cases, when you deploy AI across the value chain, it's measured in billions.
Yes.
And so the question isn't, are you going to deploy AI? The question is, where do you start? And what we're focused on is identifying the highest value and delivering that very quickly. And what I mean by quickly is, applications should get into production in weeks, not months, and certainly not years. And so we do production deployments in in under 12 weeks for generative AI, and then 12 to 24 weeks basically for an application that really requires substantial user acceptance testing, if you will, or user adoption. And then these rollouts across the enterprise, happen very quickly. Their apps are fast to deploy and they're fast to scale, so that you can unlock the economic value, which, as I mentioned, is tens, hundreds of millions, and sometimes billions for these use cases.
That's fascinating to sort of see the speed. And there are so many companies that are now adopting AI, that are now trying to figure out how to have their foundation strong enough and agile enough where they can go to the delivery phase of the weeks that you mentioned, right? So you have been doing this, and you have been sort of the market leader. What were some of the key aha moments for you where you were like, okay, this is sort of the recipe for success? If you want to move fast, this is the agility that we need. It's the criteria of like, here is where we are hearing the demand signal. This is sort of the portfolio where we feel super confident. This is the industry where we should test it out. There could be many factors, right? Like, help me understand what are like top 2 or 3 which you were like, okay, if this checks out, let's just go.
Vrushali, it's I'd love to say that we kind of studied it like a management consultant, but the reality is we entered industries when large, when organizations approached us, whether it was Department of Defense or the intelligence community or the power sector, banking, etc. They came to us and said, we really need to improve, or we want this to be a competitive advantage for us in our industry, and that's when we engaged. And however, having tackled a use case a dozen times, we essentially then productized an application around it. So these applications are quite rich, and I would encourage you to check them out on our website, where there are demonstration videos of all the apps. But there's rich user interface, rich workflows, pre-built object models for that industry, and then algorithms, and so the suite of applications are also interconnected. So in supply chain, you can start with demand forecasting AI to improve your demand forecast, and then basically there's a companion product or application for having the right parts at the right time to deliver on that forecast. And then production schedule optimization, which takes into account all the uncertainties and labor and supplier deliveries and order uncertainties, all that, and basically improves a schedule to deliver on time and full. and all these applications, the first one takes 3 to 6 months to get in. The next one takes 3 months. The next one takes 2 months to deploy and scale, because they're all on the same object models. They all share the same workflows. They all share the same user interface paradigms. And it's just, you don't have to design the models. You have to design the algorithms. Everything is set, and you just deploy quickly and unlock value.
It just gets easier and easier.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Faster, easier, and faster.
Yeah.
The more you deploy.
That's the experience, right? That's where the wisdom comes in. I love that.
That's right.
That's amazing. Let me ask you this. The name C3 AI, how did that come about, given we have talked that AI is sort of the bread and butter of this company? Was there an intentional approach behind you being one of the co-founders? Like, how did that come about? Tell us about that.
Well, and I would say that the the enterprise, if you look at the prior technology stack, when I started in this industry a long time ago, it was something called a relational database.
Yeah.
And it was on scale up computers. So if you needed, anyway, that was the beginning. And in that time, everybody built applications because there weren't any to build, any to buy, I should say, or license.
Yeah.
And then eventually companies like SAP emerged. And so rather than having to build your own HR system and build your own accounts payable and general ledger and CRM system, you could just license them. This company, we recognized, and recall this is pretty early on in 2009, that cloud computing would fundamentally transform how companies did business. And so there was cloud computing, there was IoT or sensors, and also algorithms or AI ML. The C3 is the convergence of these three primary technologies to fundamentally transform how businesses operate. And
super cool.
And so we started on this journey back in 2009 and built these applications and delivered them. And I would say that with all innovations that have come along, we've been able to basically adopt them. And so with generative AI and the large language models, that's not a rethinking of what we have done. We've basically plugged in large language models into the C3 agentic AI platform. And so now basically we support language models to interpret prompts or questions, and then to address those questions and reason over data, invoke algorithms, invoke optimizations, etc. So it's really come together quite nicely through the C3 agentic platform and the applications themselves.
That's beautiful, because I asked that because we have a lot more focus from companies in terms of what nomenclature, what names to use. Microsoft came up with this Copilot umbrella, for instance, right? And then it's like GPTs everywhere so that people can relate and understand that this is sort of the new AI portfolio that our ISVs are onboarded onto, right? So there is, I would say, exceptional focus on how to make it clear through the name itself so that our customers can understand and then align their expectations to that this is what it's going to serve me for. So I think that's why I wanted to kind of understand how the C3 AI kind of evolved. So thank you for that. Let's switch gears a little bit. Given you have been in this industry for a very long time, I feel extremely proud that you have sort of selected Azure and Microsoft for this AI portfolio. Tell us a little bit about what differentiated for you with Azure AI.
Well, I think first of all, with Microsoft, Vrushali, we're engaged with some very significant I'd say global 2000 companies, and really delivering what we call enterprise AI. So this is the journey that I discussed, that Dow is on with us, that Shell's been on with us, the Department of Defense, et cetera. And it starts with one application, but it's really the intent is to deploy at very large scale and deliver significant economic value. And so, but starting with Microsoft is established in the majority of the enterprise or global 2000 as a trusted partner to those companies. And so that was really important to us because we're essentially building on that and delivering for these companies. It's of significant importance to us. to do so. And then the technology stack, again, we have an application development and operating platform, but it takes full advantage of all of the innovations and differentiation that Azure provides for us. So that's across Azure Data Services. It's across the Azure AI services and the application services. And so we rely on Azure to make sure that we have available not just a complete set of services required to deliver these applications, but staying on the leading edge of technology. So if we need GPUs or if we need other technology, it's there. We don't have to wait for it. So that's another important aspect to the partnership.
That's amazing. So tell us, if our customers want to learn more about these products and they want to kind of explore a little bit more about what you're doing next, where they should go.
Well, they should definitely contact their Microsoft Azure reps and the C3 AI counterparts. Come to our website at c3.ai. As I said, all the applications are basically there. Or get in touch with me at ed.abbo@c3.ai.
That's incredible. And the website in itself, like there are so many resources because I went there and it's just mind-blowing in terms of just the depth. So yes, we do encourage and we'll list all these assets as part of our broadcast when we do roll this episode out. We will wrap it up. At any final words, thoughts for our audience?
No, we're super excited to engage with you all. The name of the game is deploying AI as fast as possible, unlocking value. And if there's interest in that, this is the place to come and engage. So thank you.
Yeah, I love that. So if you want to onboard onto AI in the quickest way possible, C3 AI is the answer. So please log into below links to learn more about C3 AI. And until next time, thank you everybody for joining in and listening to this wonderful episode. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Innovators Spotlight podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Want to learn more about the AI innovations discussed? Visit techinnovatorsspotlight.com for more resources and insights from Microsoft and our technology partners. Stay tuned for more episodes where we continue to uncover the stories that are shaping the future of AI.